Yeah.
What's good, everybody? We're one too many reactions. We're doing something different today because I have been fascinated and unable to think about regular life since this dropped. I know it's been a thing that's been going on for a while, but it's just been absolutely mind-blowing to me that they're having like meetings in the Congress of the United States, and there's like people that actually verifiably have had jobs in the Pentagon and shit, like talking about this. And it's just like it makes it really hard for me to believe that a lot of things they're saying isn't true. Now, granted, like there's not a ton of proof of what they're saying, but like the conversations that they're having and the way they have them is pretty insane to me. So figure we watch these highlights.
I'm familiar with was it Goresh, I believe his name is. Mm-hmm. Him, Commander Fravor, like like things that you have mentioned to me that like I've heard from them, like in pieces and stuff, but I haven't heard anything from this.
And I hope he lives up to that promise. And with that, I yield back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moskowitz. And I would now, committee staff asked me to go ahead and I will do it, to enter into the congressional record this 12-page document that Michael Schellenberger brought today that describes the Immaculate Constellation government program. So we will do that now. Every member up here has a copy of it. The first section talks about the unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation. And the second section about USG imagery intelligence. And Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list. Maybe a FISA warrant. So come at me, bro, I guess. But without objection, entered in the record. All right, so next we will introduce our witnesses for today's hearing. Thank you so much for being here. Our first witness is retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who retired from the U.S. Navy and is now the Chief Executive Officer at Ocean STL Consulting. Our second witness is Mr. Lou Elizondo, a former Department of Defense official and author of a recent bestseller book about UAPs. Our third witness is Mr. Michael Schellenberger, founder of the newsletter Public, and author of a recent journalistic piece about special access programs, including
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'm sure she's been on Rogan.
One widely identified as Immaculate Constellation. I swear the staff wants me on a list. Okay, and our last witness today is Mr. Michael Gold, a former NASA official who is also a member of the NASA UAP Independent Study Team. Welcome, everyone. We are pleased to have you today. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise your right hands. This is where it gets real. Do you solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We appreciate all of you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statements and they will appear in...
Dude, the fact that they're conducting it in this way, though, like raise your right hand, swear to God everything you're saying is true, and it's a guy from NASA, a guy from the Navy, like all high-ranking officials that have like been in the Pentagon and shit. It's just fucking mind-blowing.
We're like past like Jimmy's cousin.
Yeah. Like, oh, I saw a UFO. And they're like, no, I worked there, bro. Like, I know they know. Like... And they don't even discuss everything. They're like, I can't talk about that. Like, I signed something saying I can't talk about that. It's like,
as a reminder, please press the button in front of you so the microphone is turned on so that everyone in the room, members included, can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow. When the red light comes on, your 5 minutes has expired, and we would ask that you please wrap it up. So I will first recognize Rear Admiral Gallaudet to please begin your opening remarks.
Thank you, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify today regarding Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP. Confirmation that UAPs are real came to me in January of 2015 when I was serving as the commander of the Navy Meteorology and Oceanography Command. At the time, my personnel were participating in a pre-deployment naval exercise off the U.S. East Coast. It included the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, and this exercise was overseen by the United States Fleet Forces Command, led by a 4-star admiral who at the time was also my superior officer. During this exercise, I received an email on the Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email was addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue." The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve this soon, we are going to have to shut down the exercise." Attached to the email is what is now known as the Go Fast video, captured on the forward-looking infrared sensor of one of the Navy F-A-18 aircraft participating in the exercise. The now declassified video showed an unidentified object exhibiting flight and structural characteristics unlike anything in our arsenal. The implication of the email was clear. The author was asking whether any of the recipients were aware of classified technology demonstrations that could explain these objects. Because the DoD policy is to rigorously deconflict such demonstrations with live exercises, I was confident this was not the case. The very next day, that email disappeared from my account and those of the other recipients, without explanation. Moreover, the commander of Fleet Forces Command and the operations officer never discussed the subject. Even during weekly meetings specifically designed to address issues affecting exercises like the one in which the Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group was participating. This lack of follow-up was very concerning to me. As the Navy's chief meteorologist at the time, I was responsible for reducing safety of flight risks. Yet it appeared to me that no one at the flag officer level was addressing the safety risks posed by UAPs. Instead, pilots were left to mitigate these threats on their own without guidance or support. I concluded that the UAP information must have been classified within a special access program managed by an intelligence agency. That is a compartmented program that even senior officials, including myself, were not read into. Last year's UAP hearing before this oversight committee confirmed that UAP-related information is being withheld from senior officials and members of Congress. And just this week I learned from former DoD official Chris Mellon that satellite imagery of UAP from a few years ago still has not been shared with Congress. Equally concerning, last year's UAP hearing also revealed that elements of the government are engaged in a disinformation campaign to include personal attacks designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. Having never signed a non-disclosure agreement regarding UAPs, and now as a private citizen, I have become an advocate for greater UAP transparency from the government. The continued overclassification surrounding UAPs has not only hindered our ability to effectively address these phenomena.
One thing that's crazy about that, what kind of going off something he just mentioned, is the people that have, like, it's almost like evidence in itself where the government will then like go ahead and ruin your life for like stepping forward.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like the dude that I forget his name, but the claim to have worked on an alien spacecraft.
Yeah.
We were talking about
I don't know the name of the person, but
yeah, he said it, I think it was Area 51. This is like in the 80s or whatever, and he like came out and said they had like there was like element 118 or something like that. Something that's on the periodic table now, but wasn't then. It like wasn't known at the time, but he said that like they had some other material that but it wasn't. But I guess like I don't know. I don't know obviously enough to like really talk about it, but it's just crazy that like he's like saying things that like have come out true later, and then they go ahead and try to like actively ruin his life at the same time. And it's like,
yeah, dude. And I'm afraid they're not going to get to like the big moments in these videos. It seems like it's just like the slow burn of the beginning, but like some of the shit they say, they're like, yeah, like I can confirm there were non-human biologics recovered. And they're like, what do you think they are? And then they go down the line of all the people. And one guy literally goes, I do not know. Like, that was his testimony. Like, what do you think it is? I do not know. Yeah. Like, they're not being like, yeah. It's just like
some alien shit.
yeah. Like, it's crazy. And they're like, we know that like these ships can outperform anything in the entire inventory of like the U.S. Air Force. They move at speeds that like any jet that we have would degrade in, and like any human that was piloting it would pass out in. And then there's non-human biologics on recovered crashes. It's just fucking insane. And then not only that, but they can outperform torpedoes in the ground. They can move as fast as torpedoes and then stop on a dime, go into the sky, and then outperform jets and shit. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
In Commander Fravor's testimony or whatever, he was talking about seeing a ship like going from 30,000 feet to going in the water in like a matter of a second. Just like it's just like shit just like disappeared, like going on and off the radar. And and
it's like, and then they're like, oh, have they ever communicated with you? And the guy goes, well, you need to define communication, because there's verbal communication the way we're talking, and then there's communication the way it would be like if Russia flew a fighter jet into like one of our lines and we threw out like American jets, and he's like, we're like kind of muscling on them. He's like, we're communicating to them that they need to back off in a certain way. He's like, so like, have we non-human communicated with them? Like, absolutely. Have they like flexed their power to us? And like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, but like, have we like verbally had conversations with them? No. And it's like, damn, bro, like just the way they break down all the conversation and shit, it's crazy. Like,
have you seen the? Actually, I think we may have watched it once. The Zimbabwe, I think it's Zimbabwe school. Kids
where they all like have the same account.
Yeah, like there's 30 children that all said the same thing. They're like drawing pictures of like, this is what it looked like. Yeah. And they were talking about, and the reason why I'm thinking of this, of non-human communication, where it was like things were being said to them without being like in a different way, but like actual like delivering messages to kids that weren't talking to them.
And the one thing I will say, like, about, like, these guys in particular, like, the second guy in particular, he actually had the most interesting things to say, in my opinion. But he also has, like, a book on this shit that he just published that he's the author of, right? Yeah. Like, and that could be popular.
Yeah, so I'm reading his book.
He kind of, but he also, like, kind of had, like, he'll use taglines, like, almost. Like, he's like, and, like, you know, if we don't talk about this to the public and we don't, like, really, like, invest our time into this, it'll be the biggest national, lapse in national security since 9/11. And I'm like, oh, man, dude, you're using like a marketing tagline, like the biggest national security lapse since 9/11. You know, it's tugging on heartstrings. You're selling your book, so like I see like there's malintent somewhere in there, like a little bit too, which makes me kind of be like, nah. But at the same time, like, I still like, it's hard for me to believe that all these people, like, I don't know, dude. It'd be such a weird thing for like 60-year-old men that were like admirals in the Navy to like be coming out here and doing this. Like,
people that aren't like loony bin people.
Yeah.
But it's also eroded trust in our institutions. While I applaud previous bipartisan legislation passed by Congress concerning UAPs, a more comprehensive approach is needed to address the broader implication of UAP on public safety and national security, as well as the socioeconomic opportunities that open UAP research could unlock. Therefore, I recommend Congress take the following action, which I believe will receive bipartisan support. First, establish robust oversight of the executive branch's management of UAP information by directing key officials, beginning with the director of the DoD's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, to provide comprehensive briefings on what the government knows about UAP and does not know. 2, enact the provisions of the UAP Disclosure Act that establish a UAP Records Review Board to ensure independent oversight, transparency, and accountability in the government's handling of UAP information. And 3, strengthen the UAP Disclosure Act in future reauthorizations with provisions that mandate a whole-of-government approach to addressing UAP. In closing, I will share my personal reasons for speaking out on this topic. First, as a former science agency leader, having led the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, I've always sought the truth in human knowledge and thought. Now that we know UAP are interacting with humanity, and these include unidentified submerged objects in the ocean, we should not turn a blind eye, but instead boldly face this new reality and learn from it. Additionally, at a time when leaders in government leave much to be desired, I feel obligated to show moral leadership on this issue of UAP disclosure by validating the credibility of the courageous men and women who have come out as witnesses and whistleblowers to expose the truth. My speaking out has encouraged others to do the same, and it's my hope over time that a number of your constituents will want to know the truth and about UAP, and this number will increase to such an extent that the congressional action I've just recommended.
He's a stumbly bumbly right now, man.
I mean,
get it out, bud.
Preaching to the choir over here. I was actually thinking about that, like, as we were watching it. I'm like, I'm really having a tough time talking today. But no, he looks like Agent G.
From Men in Black?
Yeah.
He kind of does, yeah.
Unbelievable. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. I will now recognize Mr. Elizondo for his opening statement.
Oh, this is my guy right here. Good, I want to see his.
Greetings, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, formerly known as UFOs. On behalf of our brave men and women in uniform and across the intelligence community, as well as my fellow Americans who have awaited this day, thank you for your leadership on this important matter. Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council. As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first. With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the aftermath of 9/11, which many of us remember all too well. I believe that America's greatness depends on three elements. A watchful Congress, B, a responsive executive branch, and C, an informed public. Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media. This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives. This is not hyperbole, but a genuine fact, and this is wrong. To fix these problems, I propose three principal actions. First, Congress and the President should create a single point of contact responsible for a whole-of-government approach to the UAP issue. Currently, the White House, CIA, NASA, the Pentagon, Department of Energy, and others play a role, but no one seems to be in charge, leading to unchecked power and corruption. Second, we need a national UAP strategy that will promote transparency and help restore the American public's trust at a time when the public's trust is at an all-time low. This strategy should include a whole-of-government approach, including the academic and scientific communities, the private sector, and our international partners and allies. Third, Congress should create a protected environment so whistleblowers desperate to do the right thing can come forward without fear. As it currently stands, these whistleblowers suffer because of stigma, a code of silence, and concerns about retaliation. These whistleblowers should be encouraged to come forward in ways that protect them against any forms of retaliation. Policies and procedures should ensure that protection, and for those who refuse to cooperate, it is up to the members of this committee and the other lawmakers to wield their subpoena power against hostile witnesses and prevent additional government funding to those UAP efforts that remain hidden from congressional oversight. In closing, we as Americans have never been afraid of a challenge. In fact, we thrive on them, whether it's eradicating polio or going to the moon. We don't run from a challenge, we take it head on. To the incoming administration and Congress, I say to you, we need immediate public transparency, and this hearing is an important step on that journey. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we as Americans have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions. Together, we can usher in a new era.
To recognize Mr. Higgins. You're the king of Tennessee.
Huh? I just skipped to another video.
Oh. Autoplay isn't on. Is autoplay on?
I don't know.
It's never happened before. You're here.
But for real though, like that dude's the one that had like a lot to say about just like the non-human biologics that they know that they came up with, and just like the way that the ships move and shit. And it's just like, what the fuck, bro? Like,
yeah, it's
like,
yeah, it's really interesting, and it does seem like it's getting to the point where they're almost having like a soft launch of like, I don't know, this feels like it's been going on for the last whatever few years, like since kind of the pandemic. I feel like things have been kind of more and more in the government's taking it more seriously, where one day they're just going to be like, here it is, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, did you see they found non-biologic alien technology? And you'd be like, yeah, I saw that.
No.
Dude, fucking Texas just won.
This is going to go down the real rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, and I'm not well versed in this topic whatsoever.
I'm here for it.
I'm about to say shit that I might be completely out of turn. I might be completely wrong. Correct me in the comments, but I will. Have you heard of Project Bluebeam?
Bluey?
Bluebeam. Project
Oh, no.
Bluebeam. So it's like, I think it's like a dude from the 40s that originally came up with this, but they think like, he thinks like the government's 100% going to do it. And COVID kind of ties into it as well, because it was like a giant like mass disease that went all over the world that like was kind of managed in the same way by all governments, like in sync. But what this dude, hold on. So what this dude thinks though is that like the government is run by like non-religious like believers in like God and Jesus and everything, and that they're going to use the threat of extraterrestrial life and like UFOs to like create a one world government and like unite all the countries together to say like it's us versus them kind of thing, and like use fear to kind of like make all countries agree to be like ruled by one world government, and like give like people at the top like the most control, and then destroy like our views of like religion and stuff. And like it's obviously like they think it ties back to like demonic shit like and eventually, but like it's like pretty interesting, and like technically this is like right in line with like exactly how they'd be like introducing those things. And again, that was probably a terrible like abridged version of that. If you guys know more about it, like holler. But it's like an interesting thought as well.
Yeah. And I don't know in like the biblical sense of things, but as far as I think like I don't know if this is just stuff that I read online in 2006, you know, or if this is stuff that's actually backed up by anything.
Yep.
But the like the rapture, it's like the signs of the rapture. It's like it starts with like one world government. It's like that.
Right.
And I don't know if that has, you know, again, that could have been somebody on a blog that I was reading, like in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
Just being like, the internet's awesome, and I'm just like reading stuff. I'm like, the rapture's happening.
Yeah, no, it's just another take on it. But
Yeah.
like, I am terrified to believe this is true, but I just want to know.
Yeah, I'm not. I would be like pretty pumped if they come through with some stuff, and they're like, dude, check it out, and then you fucking throw it in the air, and it just like, and it's like, oh, that's definitely not fucking human. I'd be jacked up, dude. I would be so excited. You know what I would do? I would call Dylan.
What's
I'd be like, they're fucking here, they're here. You go, oh no.
Yeah, because he's like super against that, right?
Yeah, he's like, it's not true.
Yeah, he's like, there's no way that'd be true, because he's just a scaredy cat. But honestly, someone was like talking about like, oh, like they're here, they've been amongst us for years, and my initial take on that too would be like, it's like, oh, this dude, the guy I was saying I like, was saying it's like a lot of people theorize that like it's a threat to national security in a sense where like if we do reconnaissance and like we're trying to like, we are like planning an attack on somebody, and like we're like putting spy planes over Russia and like trying to like get a lay of the land and like figure stuff out before we go and attack, and then we become discovered by them, like, and they catch us doing that, like the protocol of the military is like, fuck, we're caught, they know we're coming, we have 24 hours, get in there and do what we need to do. Where like if you're talking about intergalactic time, like in time and space is like relative, right? Like they could be doing multi thousands of year reconnaissance before they decide like we're at a developed point where it's worth it to come in and take resources, like whatever it is. And if we start like being really public about the discovery and the acknowledgement of them, that it would push forward an attack in the same military sense. Like that was like one of his reasonings for like, I understand the wanting to keep it like from the public kind of thing. Yeah. And it was just like an interesting theory to like touch on as well.
I disagree with that because like if they're here, they already have like technology that we're done. Like
we're toast no matter what.
Yeah, we don't have a shot. So it's like if they were to come here and then it's like, well, let's wait until they pull up the resources. And it's like, well, you can just go down and get the resources yourself with your droid alien. Just stick a straw on the ground and just suck out the oil or whatever you're doing. They're like taking our solar panels, and you're like, no, not our wind farms.
No, for sure, and that to me too. Like, if they've been here for thousands of years and haven't touched us, it's probably one of those things where they're not actually like either they put us here and they're watching us as an experiment, or they're just like not hostile and they're like watching us the same way we would watch like a anthill.
Yeah, I think it's probably closer to what it is. Like, cause I think we view it through the lens of our human on Earth problems, where we're like, why would we think about, oh, the moon has resources, like we should be mining the moon. Like that's where we're still in that state of like we need to be doing that. But I feel like that's putting a human need on aliens of being like they want us for our resources. And it's like no, there's probably other planets that don't have life that they could pull resources from, that whatever they need, I don't know. And then, but you know, they come through and it's like, oh, we'll study, you know, there's probably life outside of us and them, but they're here, let's study them, let's check them out. Fucking like, oh my god, they're developing a bomb. Now they're fighting. Those guys got bombs.
They just dropped a nuclear bomb. How'd they get there fast? How'd they get there this fast?
They go, let's go back in the ocean.
Yeah, and then there's like actually like theories of like bases, like alien bases that are just underneath the ocean. Like they like posted up and like created a whole thing to like study us. Like they have like a spot that they like travel back and forth from. Like it's crazy.
What if this video's not going on forever? What if it's all human, say, and they are just humans have developed to the point, you know, whatever, 10 million years ago. 66 million years ago. That they got so fucking good at just creating everything they needed. And they see like some shit's about to go down, and they're like, "Oh, let's make an underwater base until like this becomes a habitable place again." And then they come up, and they're like, "Oh, people are here."
They're about 2,000 years in.
I think we overshot it. We overshot a little bit.
Oh man. Well,
they're gonna take Cali.
We'll see you guys on the next one. We might do more of this. Who knows? Later.
Goodbye.